All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, I am Brandy Renfro, and I'm the president of the Springfield chapter of the Association for Women in Communication. So, I'm excited about our program today and to introduce our presenter, Amy Beadle. She's a marketing manager for the city of Springfield. But before we begin, I want to let you know about a few exciting things that we have going on right now with AWC. So as you know, earlier this year, the national umbrella organization announced that they were dissolving. But thanks to input from our membership, everyone was very supportive of moving forward with our own organization. So as we transition into that, we are running a special on membership. Today through the end of the year, you can join our chapter for free. So in January, we'll reach out to everybody with the lower membership prices. And if you'd like to continue your membership, then you'll have the option to do so at that time. So we're not collecting any payment information right now. This isn't one of those weird subscription things that you'll be automatically charged. Don't worry about that. We're just, gathering everybody who's interested so that you can be notified of our new package prices when we go live. So if you've ever consider joining our organization, now is the time to do so. So take advantage with this offer, and I will put additional details in the chat shortly. Also, I wanted to let you know about our survey. So we decided not to stay with AWC moving forward since we are completely rebranding. So we have a name survey out there. We're in the process of rebranding, and it starts with obviously a new name. A survey with options was sent to members and non-members recently with 4 name choices. But if you haven't done so yet, please complete the survey by Monday and help us select our new name. And I will also put those details in the chat so you can all have a chance to vote. I'm really excited to have a new name, new organization. That's going to be a lot of fun. So please be part of that. And while you're at it, please introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us your name, where you're from. I see a lot of names out here already that I don't recognize. So please, I would like to know a little bit more about you. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Enough for me now. So I want to introduce our speaker for today's program. Amy Beadle is the marketing manager for the City of Springfield Conventions and Visitors Bureau. With more than 34 years of experience in the travel, hospitality, retail, and tourism industry in Springfield, Amy has built a network of connections and enjoys being a resource to connect, engage, and provide mentoring and coaching to those new to the industry or to Springfield. Prior to working at Visit Springfield, Amy spent 8 years as a marketing leader for Shields. She serves as board chair for the United Way of Central Illinois, volunteers with Capital City Fishing Has No Boundaries, Habitat for Humanity Sangamon County, and has served on the board of directors for the Central Illinois Customer Service Association since 2015. She is an active member of Illinois Women in Leadership, Greater Springfield Chamber of Commerce, Springfield and Sangamon Growth Alliance, and AWC. And she's excited about the reimagining of this great group. Amy, I really don't know how you do all those things. But without further ado, I will turn it over to our wonderful presenter, Amy Beadle.
Well, thank you, Brandy. That's very kind, and thank you for the nice introduction. And I just try to do my small part. That is my mission. If we all do a small part, then our city will be amazing. So appreciate that very much. So we're going to start out with a few things. We're going to start out first with a confession, and then a disclaimer, and then a little bit about what I hope you all get out of this today. So the confession is that as many hundreds, maybe thousands of Zooms that I've participated in, this is literally the first Zoom that I have presented on. So it's a little odd format when I'm used to standing in front of live, warm breathing human beings. So this is a first for me. So please bear with me, and I hope that it goes as well as I intend. So the disclaimer I would like to put out is that I am not a professional speaker. I am an expert in absolutely nothing, but with my 30 plus years of experience, all pretty much laid in events, organization, and the like, I hope that we'll be able to have a few aha moments. For today, I really want to focus on something that is kind of my number one principle, especially since the pandemic, and that is the number one thing to focus on is your foundation. I feel, and this is just my opinion, that getting back to the basics and building a strong foundation is how we'll all be successful moving forward in this new kind of unique environment that we all live in. So my goal today for you all, I hope, there's a really great lineup of people here. So my goal is that each of you will take 1 to 2 nuggets or an aha moment or an, oh, that's right, I should do that moment away with you today and help you to be more successful and maybe alleviate a little stress for you in the future. So with that, we'll get started on the first slide. I think Michelle's got the clicker for me. Anyway, I'll just go ahead and start if we can't get that advanced. So as you saw in the intro to this session for today, you were drawn to finding out what a purple cow is. So again, this is where typically audience interaction is something that's really important and helpful. But I like to talk about the purple cow, and you can see him kind of right back here behind me. Hopefully, there he is on the screen. So the purple cow represents what's called your unique selling proposition. So before we get into how do you organize successful events or social media campaigns or market your business, I think the very, very first thing that you have to know is what is your USP? What is your unique selling proposition? Or it's better known as your purple cow. And that is because if you see a farm field full of cows, most all of them are going to be black and white. And if there's a purple one, he will really stand out in that field. So you think to yourself, what is my purple cow that makes me outstanding in my field? And that's something that you really want to start your, again, core foundation with. I feel like coming back to knowing who you are is one of the most important things that you can look to do to increase your marketing exposure and effectiveness. So a unique selling proposition or proposal is, in short, your elevator speech, right? So it is your 1 or 2 sentences that makes your business stand out as better or different or more effective for your customers and why they should come to you versus a competitor that does the same exact thing. So when you're looking at trying to figure out what that is, you want to consider a couple things. I'm going to go over them in highlight today, but do know that if you take the time and Google writing a unique selling proposition, there are lots of resources online that you can use to help you kind of work through that exercise. But the first thing that you need to do, and it's unique to everyone's individual business or line of work, is you need to find out what your audience wants. So what is it that you have that is going to help people obtain something or solve a problem that they have? What makes them need to come to your business? You need to check out your competitors. We used to call it comp shopping when I worked at Shields. You really need to know what else is out there in the same environment that you're in, or you won't be able to define yourself as unique if you don't know who you're competing with. And you need to make a list for yourself of what differentiates you. So if you go to a competitor to comp shop them and you see what they're doing better or not as good, you need to keep track of that, because then that's where you're going to be able to tell your customers in your marketing why you're better or different than your competitor. So that's really important. And then you also need to define what is your promise to your customers. What are you telling them? If you do business with me or you contact my organization, what are you promising them? What are you going to deliver for them? You need to identify that, and then you need to make sure that you're working to make that happen for each and every one of your customers. So again, I very much encourage people to look up unique selling proposition, study that a little bit, and write one for your own business or organization. So you really want to know who it is you're speaking to and what it is that you're trying to tell them. So that's the purple cow. That's your foundation, so that you know what it is you're trying to accomplish and for who you're trying to accomplish it for. Next slide. So the next thing we will talk about when those pop up is kind of starting into the organization piece. So what I wanted to share with you all were just a few tools that we use in order to make sure that we are effective and pre-planned. So we tend to live in a little bit more of a knee-jerk world, especially when it comes to social media or communications. And one of the things that I think is interesting is one of the soft skills that are found to be the most deteriorated over the last 3 to 5 years is communication. So we're all in a hurry and we're all kind of taking shortcuts, and communication can sometimes then suffer because we're moving too quickly and we're not planning too far ahead of ourselves. So these next couple of slides are going to be tools that I use here in order to keep myself on track, or keep our marketing team on track. So the first one that was there, and that's fine to stay where you're at right there. But the first one that was there is what we call our partner update. So we are very, we're very much needing to communicate with a lot of people, and we have a lot of different audiences. So we have our partner audience, we have our visitor audience, we have our internal audience. So our partner audience, we like to make sure that our partners, and that's all the businesses in Springfield, anyone who wants to sign up for the partner update, to keep everyone current on what's happening in tourism in our city, what big conventions are coming, what things we've booked for future years, what our social media has been doing, all the places that our staff are out and about in the community, connecting and engaging with people. So we have a spreadsheet for that, and we will sit down here in the next month or two before the first of the year, and we will have all of the partner updates identified as to when we're sending them, and if we know what that particular content might look like. We don't always know the whole year at a time, but we do typically know seasonally what we will be doing at that time. And so we use that spreadsheet to identify, is it going to be our partner update? Is it going to be our e-commerce, which is our visitor email blasts that we do? What will the content detail look like? What date will we send it on? Will there be blogs included? And if so, which ones? What events will we include? I mean, these sheets will get you to the point where you have everything so planned out that when it's time to execute, you really are staying on top of it and doing it. What I found is when you don't have a plan like this, you tend to go day to day, and all of a sudden, one day to the next day, it's easy to not do a post, or to do a post but do it very quick, or send out an e-blast that's not really that effective because you just hurried and rushed and did it. So taking the time ahead of time to pre-plan all of this as far as we possibly can ensures and helps us know that we will do all of these things, and we will do them at a high level with the correct information. So that was the first one, was our emails to our partners in our e-com. And then this one that is up now is our part of our social media. So let me move this just 1 second, sorry. I'm sorry, Michelle, can you go to the next real quick? There we go. So this one is our social media. So what we do every year is we have a Excel spreadsheet that has tabs for every month of the year. All of the current dates, whatever that'll be for 2024, listed in the publish column. And then this is great for you or your business, especially when you want to do things that are kind of unique and fun. Everybody's all about the national holidays. It's National Donut Day. It's National, Eat Spaghetti Day, or whatever it is. Think about what relates to your business, what makes you unique, what's your USP, and then Google out and find out if there's days that kind of speak to you. I see Sarah on there. So is there a National Photographer Appreciation Day? I'm sure there is. So, we want to make sure we're engaging with that. For us here at Visit Springfield, it is imperative that we do this because we cannot miss, as you see down there, the farewell address that Lincoln did in 1861. If we didn't post about that day, that would be a huge miss. So we use this to be very intentional, very laser focused, and we make sure that we try to never miss anything, that's important like that. So we also will go through each month as we do our posts and fill in the blank spaces with other content and material so that by the end of the year, we have a spreadsheet that shows everything that we did. Now, your first year, this is cumbersome, but I will tell you that after the first year, and you're going back and you're tweaking it, and you're moving things back and forth a little bit, depending on the day and the date, it becomes easier and easier every year you do it. It is a big undertaking and commitment in the beginning, but I have found that it has kept us on task, and it has kept us really sharp with our posts and being planned. So you'll see for Lincoln's birthday on February 12th, it's his birthday, what pictures we're going to use, And then over here, we're going to put our 5 Lincoln Sites blog attached to it. We have a whole media plan out. So we don't just do the post and then lose the click-throughs or our website visits. We're always trying to think ahead and be very intentional with what we're going to do for that. So it is a huge organizational undertaking, but again, I can't stress enough how much you will gain from that. So this is kind of the bottom of that Excel sheet, and I'm happy to share the somewhat empty sheet.
I'm not sure what's happened, Amy.
Oh, what's wrong? No, that's good. That's what it looks like. So anyway, this is the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet. So one column is the newsletter. We put it all in the same sheet. So we have our newsletter, our monthly blogs that we're going to write, and then all of our social tabs. So it's all in one big spreadsheet. It's our marketing plan for the year. And then we're able to just go into that and edit it, update it, or refer to it as we're moving forward through our year. So, okay, next slide. If it works. So some things to think about as you're thinking strategy, as you're thinking putting together this plan. Again, undertaking an entire year seems daunting, but I promise once you get rolling, it's really fun and you really just start building upon yourself, and it comes along pretty well. But a lot of that has to do with, again, not to sound repetitive, but knowing what your unique selling proposition is. And that all starts also with, where's your target area? It's different for everybody. Sitting here talking to you as the marketing manager of Visit Springfield, my target area is essentially the world. Like, we want anyone to come from anywhere to visit Springfield. I kind of drill that down closer to say, we want to speak to people who are going to come here to spend the night or two. So we look at marketing 50 miles to 6 hours out, because that's kind of our real targeted area. For a small business here in Springfield or a not-for-profit or something like that, your target area might be just Springfield. It might be Sangamon County. Maybe it's a state, the nation, the world, what have you. So define, where's your area? What is your demographic? Then you want to define who's your target audience. Very, very, very important to know, especially when you're looking at social. If you're going to be looking at boosting ads or anything like that, all of these things will come in handy so that you're talking to the right people. Your target audience has to do with the age of the people you're talking to, and it may be open-ended. For us, we're like 35 to 65 plus. We're not a very large Gen Z market. So we know that when we're really out there pushing, we're looking for 35 to 65 plus people. We have about a 50-50 split with our analytics that show male to female. And then what is your household spending? Are you looking for people who are lower income? Are you looking for people who are higher income? You know, what type of people are you looking to touch base with your message? And then what interests they have. So obviously for us, it's travel, it's Route 66, it's history, people who love, you know, presidents, things of that nature. So who are you trying to sell to, and where are they located? And then the next question to ask yourself as you start planning this is, how will I reach them? Do I have social media pages? You know, will I do digital advertising, print advertising? Do you have an e-newsletter? And if you do, great. If you don't, do I want one? And in order to do that successfully, you have to start thinking of a strategy of, how will I build my list? Because that's the whole point of having an e-newsletter, is we build our list. We build our list in various ways. We'll send out social media posts saying, you know, hey, have you, you know, signed up for our e-newsletter? We also do reader response cards in magazines like AAA or Midwest Living, where those people sign up to be on our list through those publications. So if you have a newsletter, great. If you don't and want to get started, then you'll start to think, well, maybe I could ask my current customers as they come in to share their email list, or put a post up on social saying you're starting a newsletter and please, you know, go to your website to sign up for that. And then, do you have blog posts on your website? That is something that I think, especially if you have a specialty service that you offer, or your unique selling proposition, once again, you should be the expert in your area. So you should be writing blogs or articles and, you know, posting those on your website or on your social media as well. So these are things that you want to determine, these factors, before you begin to format your strategy. Okay, you don't want to start at the end. Sometimes you start at the end and work your way back, but not in this particular process. So if you don't have these questions answered and you don't have yourself defined, then essentially, like the guy here, we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall and we're going to hope that it'll stick. And that's not going to be good for your use of time or your use of money or resources. So you want to really think through some of these questions and answer them before you get started. Additional things to consider as you're putting your organizational plan together is, how can I be different? You know, we live in a world where, you know, there's so much redundancy of things that we have at our disposal. You know, what is going to make you different? And you want to be consistent. As I said earlier, you define that customer, you define what that customer needs from you, then you promise them that you're going to do that well for them. You have to do that consistently. And I think we find many times in our community that if you don't, it can really be detrimental to you fairly quickly. And it's very hard to come back from an inconsistent moment, right? We've worked for years and years and decades to build a reputation, to build a solid business, to have a great, you know, word of mouth, and one or two small unfortunate things happen and it's all taken away, and it takes you 10 times longer to build it back up. So think about, how can you be consistent? Make sure that the foundation that you're building is attainable. Make sure that it works for you. We all have big dreams and we all want to do more and bigger, but can you be consistent in what you're committing to do? You want to be helpful. And that kind of goes back to what I was just talking about with writing blogs and articles. They don't have to be anything, you know, that's going to go into the, you know, Washington Post or the, you know, Times Magazine or anything like that. But write things that are helpful to your customers. Be the resource, right? Down at the bottom, it says, be the expert. You want to set yourself with your communication plan, with your social media, with your website. You absolutely want to be the one that people think of. And again, not to weigh on Sarah, but I see you there, Sarah, and I've appreciated your work. You want to be the one when people think, I need a photography resource. Oh, that's Sarah. I remember reading the article she posted on LinkedIn, or I remember, you know, seeing that blog on her website. You be the expert. So whatever your business is, that's what you have to be 100% known for, while being consistent and while being different. So, and then of course, being patient. We never get the results we want as quick as we want them. Any good plan, in my opinion, takes, you know, depending on what you're looking at, but really, you know, 3 to 5 years to really get your wings, get your legs, build your e-com list, you know, all those types of things, get people interacting with your writings. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. So don't start something and then give up on it. Give it some time, let it breathe, and, you know, really embrace it. Embrace that you're going to fail sometimes, and embrace that you're going to have wild success sometimes. But it's important. And again, the spreadsheets help with that, because some of those, towards the end of those spreadsheets, also have columns for, you know, click-through rates on your emails, open rates on your emails, things of that nature that will help you say, oh, this content did really, really good. Let's go back and look at that and recreate something similar. So it does take time and patience and homework, and you have to do your due diligence and know what you're producing. Is it working? If it is, great, do more. If it's not, evaluate it, maybe try it one more time. And if that doesn't work, then maybe move on to something different, a different tactic. Okay. All right, so this presentation I originally did was for WC, for women entrepreneurs. And so we were talking about, how can you market yourself? What are some tips for marketing yourself? So obviously you want to promote yourself on social media. You want to be doing regular, content that is interesting, content that is helpful. Most of the time, if you can speak to your audience by saying, I can solve this problem for you, and here's how I'm going to do it, then, you know, that's when people will really stop. I also, and I'm not sure if it's down in here further, I'm just going to say it at this point. I also want to emphasize visuals. We live in a world, whether we like it or not, that we're all visually driven. I don't know about you, but most of the time, if I have to read some big long thing, I'm not going to do it, right? I want you to tell me by the picture, and I want you to tell me in the first 1 to 2 sentences, how is this benefiting me, or why is this interesting? So your visuals, especially when you're talking about social media or e-newsletters, you have to be, you have to stop the scroll. And the best way I can tell you to think about that, I do it all the time, whether I'm scrolling or whether I'm flipping through a magazine. If something catches my eye and makes me stop, because when you're in marketing and communications, you tend to be critical of everything, everybody else's things, at least I do. And if something like catches my eye, I go, wait a minute, what is this? And I really stop, no matter what it is, I'll stop and I'll really look at that and say, what was it about this vision, this picture that made me stop? And try to recreate that in my own world somehow. So it might be, for instance, it's a picture of, I'll just go back to the days I worked at Shields. So you might have an aisle full of Yeti coolers, right? The tumblers, and they're 27 different colors, and it's beautiful. Well, you can take a straight on picture, or you can lay down on the floor and get up underneath of it and take this beautiful, grand, long shot. Which one are people going to stop scrolling for? They're going to stop scrolling for the one that's coming up from the bottom and looks like you've got, 7 miles worth of Yeti tumblers on this shelf. Simple example, I know, but all I can say is your visions, your visuals matter. So take time and put those together. You can promote yourself, but if you're not actually interesting, you'll just get scrolled right by. So, wanting to make sure that you understand how your existing customers can help you. That is by you asking them to help you, asking them, what's your favorite part of my shop or my service or whatever it is that you have. Using that feedback, building off of that. If they have constructive criticism, making sure that you're actively listening to that and figuring out how can I solve that? Because if you don't take those opportunities to either expand what people love about you or work on the things that maybe people are a little bit critical of, then you're just going to either stay flat or you're just going to melt away. So understand that your existing customers can be huge help to you. Ask them questions. If you have an e-com newsletter you send out, encourage a photo competition. Maybe, how are they engaging with your product or with what you do? How can they help you communicate that by sending you photos, giving you permission to use them, and posting about you on their social media? Okay, they can help you by spreading your message for you as well. Be making sure that you're thinking about, how does your website look? You want to make sure that your website looks great. That is your window to the world. So if your website doesn't look great, that is, for some people, the only way that they know you. So keep your website sharp. And then also, you want to update it often, and you want to make sure that it's always as current as it can be. And I will say that from, again, my position where I sit now, it's extremely frustrating and it's extremely difficult to go to people's websites, and the information of the hours and days that they're open says one thing there. Their Facebook page says something different. Their Google search says something different. How will people know where to find you and when to find you? Make sure that all of your things are, again, consistent, and that they look really good and that they're up to date. I encourage everyone to be a customer in your own business or organization. And that starts from when you pull up in the parking lot to walk into your business. Look at it as if you didn't work there or own it or manage it or whatever your position is. You get out of your car and you start to walk towards the building. What's your customer seeing? Is it in good repair? Is there trash? Are all the light bulbs working? Always be looking at things from your customer's perspective, including inside of your business, right? Is it easy to get around? Does it look lovely? Are the shelf space? Like, how can you really be ready for the best image that you can put forward? So you always want, again, to plan ahead and not be going out on a whim or go day to day. I was at a point at one point where I was going day to day, and it's really not effective or efficient use of your time or resources, because most of the time you come in with very good intentions in the morning, or at least I do. I have a list of 3 to 7 things every night when I leave, that these are the first things I'm going to do tomorrow. And I don't know about you all, but there's many mornings where I get side railed really quick, and I might get one or couple or none of them done. And then all of a sudden you haven't done any communications today. You haven't done any posts. You haven't interacted with the things that you meant to, because your day just got away from you. And the smaller your business or organization, the easier that is to happen. But if you have a plan, you have things scheduled out for, 3, 4, 5, 7 days, then you're not likely to miss those things. So try not to just wing it, although it is one of my favorite things to do, but not in this particular instance. So you do want to use an email marketing system. If you don't have one, I would encourage you to. I think most people nowadays do, but a Constant Contact or Wix or something like that, where you can build that database and very easily and efficiently market out to people. So you can send your e-blasts out, but you can also tag into that and do social posts right from there. It's kind of like we call it here core. So when you're doing these things, it sounds overwhelming, but what you really do is you create your resources and you create your plan, and then you create once and reuse everywhere. So we will create a post, but then we will also turn it into potentially a reel. It'll be on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and we just kind of make those tweaks that you need to be successful on each platform. But we don't recreate something for every single platform. We use it for everything that we can and just manipulate it as necessary. So highly recommend, as you have your plan put together, then you're able to do that as well. So and then embrace the word of mouth that you get. So your best and free resources for communication about your business to wherever your demographic is or geographic is, whether it's Springfield, Sangamon County, what have you, the more that you can get other people to promote for you. And that's through testimonials, or that's through, hey, if you had a great time, post about it on your social media and, tag me and, what have you. Like, don't be afraid to ask for that type of promotion. If a customer says, wow, this is the greatest experience I've ever had, ask them straightforward, would you mind me mentioning that on my social media? And would you be willing to put it on your social media? It's all about other people's opinions. We can say things all day long like, hey, visit Springfield, it's the greatest place in the world, we have X and X and X. But when we have someone else say that about us, or write an article about us that we can share out, or using our user-generated photo content, which you'll see a lot on our social medias, we want to show people other people having a good time, not us saying people have a good time. So always use those word of mouth and referral sources the most that you can. And then I always encourage, because this is how I think our community is very successful, when we decide that we're going to open up and connect and collaborate with other businesses. We cannot be afraid of competition. We need to say, I see you doing this, you're doing it really well. How could we be even stronger and make it even better if we did this together? Here's what I can bring to the table, and look at how we can make this grow. So I think Springfield is really doing well with that right now, and I think we'll continue to grow. But I very much would like to ask everyone to please be intentional about finding collaborations within our city. We can't do it alone in our little silos. We have got to be a village. And I say that anybody who knows me or listens, who sees anything I post, it is all about the village, right? We all need a village personally. We all need a village professionally. And as a city and county to be successful, we all need to come together. And the more people we have collaborating and communicating the same messages out, the more other people outside of our area start to see this, and they say, wow, things in Springfield are really cool. They all work together. They have this great cohesion. Maybe this is somewhere that I would want to go live, work, play, etc. And then that all starts to tie into that economic engine, which is good for everybody. So, but that again is an organizational planning effort. You have to be intentional about those things. So, I hope that, you look for ways and think about how could you not compete with, but collaborate with other businesses. So, okay, on to next. This has a little bit to do more with event planning. And I will say this is somewhat of a self-serving slide because, again, in my current position, we try to promote any and all events that we can that are tourism driven. So things that people would want to come and visit and do while they're here. So we were always trying to, pull those together. Now, my background and experience for the majority of the 30 plus years has been in event planning. And so I have been fortunate and unfortunate to see some of the wins and some of the pitfalls when it comes to planning events. And these are a few of the things that I think I see a lot happening that if we just tweak them just a little bit, we could be way more successful in what we're doing here in Springfield when it comes to events. So my do this is plan ahead, like way ahead, right? That is the key. Most unsuccessful events are going to be because of lack of time to promote, lack of time for planning, lack of time for finding collaborations. And I'm just going to back up to that real quick, is that when you're going to do an event, think about who you can collaborate with. Don't think about it as competition. Bring more people together. The more interest, the more ideas, the more uniqueness about your event, the better off you're going to have chances of people coming to that. Just a couple weekends ago, I had counted, and we had, I want to say it was 37 events, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Springfield just on that weekend. So just know you're up against a lot of competition. And if you don't plan ahead, then you're not going to be able to get your word out, communicate your, what you're wanting people to do. So plan ahead, use your resources, use all of your channels to get the word out. So that takes pre-planning. You want to be able to post those on your social. You want to be able to send an e-newsletter out. You want to be able to, get flyers up in the appropriate places, or have other people start to promote it like we do. You would want to give us plenty of time. Our goal is to get as many visitors here for the events that we have in Springfield. And if we only tell them a few days out or a week out or 2 weeks out, it's just not going to help with the tourism draw. So utilize all of your free local community calendars. There's tons of them out there. I actually have a list. If someone wants it, I'm happy to share it. And also via the media. I think Springfield is doing a fairly good job about trying to talk about local events and things like that as they're coming up, but it's very much a timing issue. And you have to be very specific. Do you want them to talk about your event before it happens, or do you want them to come to your event? And how does that look? So keeping all of those things in mind. And then ask your very best customers, what kind of event do they want to attend? Sometimes people will make a mistake and they'll put on an event because they want to put it on, because they think it's interesting and they really like to go to it, which is great, because you're going to be at it for many, many hours. But is that what the community or your customers or your audience that you earlier defined, is that what they want? Because why would you put on an event for what you want and nobody come, versus asking your customers, hey, I'm thinking about doing something special. My 5-year anniversary is coming up, or it's such and such holiday. What type of things would you like to see if I did an event? Again, though, you have to plan in advance. You can't make something up at the last minute and, ask your customers and try to create something really cool, unique, and different. So, but take their advice. Again, talk to them, ask them. Not only will you get great information, they will love the fact that you care so much about them as a customer that you want to include them in that process. So what I ask that you don't do is plan an event with less than 30 to 45 days to go. If you do, you can guarantee that you will have pretty much only local events or local attendance. We will struggle to get any outside visitors or anything like that to come to that event. And then also remind yourself that you're up against, probably most of the time, if you're a weekend event, you're up against 15 to maybe 30 or 40 other events happening. So the farther out that you're on people's calendars, the more likely you'll be the event that they'll attend. And 6 months or more, if you want to make it a visitor draw, you want the attendance to include people from out of town, you want to have time to get a media release out, to get on these local calendars that people resource. So the further out that you can plan. And again, as you sit down and do your annual marketing and communications plan, you're going to see those opportunities. At that point, you can start to identify when would you do an event, and do what you can handle. You know, if you can do one event a year and do it really, really well, great. If you can do 6 events a year and do them well, perfect. But don't do 6 events a year just to be doing 6 events a year if you can't execute them at a high level. And so then also my favorite, again, anyone who knows me knows I'm a little bit of a detail person. Do not underestimate the power of the tiniest detail. And that could be, you know, an hour program of itself. That is where I see most people fail when they're trying to do an event. And those tiniest details can fall in all kinds of places, whether it be logistics, whether it be communications. There's a lot of pitfalls in planning an event. And so just make sure that every stone is turned. And I guess that's me. So I hope that that found some interest with that, and I would be happy to answer any questions or entertain any comments.
If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. Does anyone have any questions for Amy? I will say, Amy, I really liked the bit that you talked about, like being your own customer for your business. So sometimes I'll visit our company's website and I'll be like, oh, look at it as a customer. Like, yeah, that's not as good as it could be, right? So I thought that was really good advice.
And you know, thank you, Brandy. And that is one of the things that I think a lot of people overlook that part, right? Because you're just in and out, right? It's you're in the blinder thing, you know, you see what you want to see, you hear what you want to hear. And I do that from a lot of things. I will say to people, I will send something that I'm writing or doing to someone who knows nothing about what I'm doing. Obviously somebody that I trust and know, not just random people out on the road, but and I will say, I know that you don't know what this is about. Does this make sense to you? Makes total sense to me because I know what I'm talking about. So there's all of those bounce offs, right? And that's what's so important. And that's what does set you apart. Because if I walk up to a business that's just pristine and they have just the, you know, little flower plant or whatever, like that makes it, I remember that. I want to go there. It makes me feel good. So again, a lot of times we leave the feelings out of things, but we can't, you know, we can't think enough about how we make people feel is how they're going to make future decisions.
Yeah, great advice. Looks like we do have a couple questions in the chat. So Alyssa McCorkle asks, typically how long is your USP elevator speech?
Really one or two lines at all. You know, just exactly like when you work on an elevator speech, like who are you, why do you exist, and what is your goal? Just super quick. And you just want to make it impactful, right? So a lot of times I will say, oh, you know, hi, I'm Amy Beadle and I'm the marketing manager for the city of Springfield for convention and tourism. My job is to market our city to the world. And it's just interesting enough that people are like, so what exactly do you do? You know, and you just want to have that open around. But as far as your USP goes, that is also going to include a statement about what can you do for people. Again, it's going back to thinking, what's the issue that you can solve for people? And it could be that you have the best hair product, or you're the most, you know, fantastic photographer, or whatever you are. What can you solve for people? And that needs to be a quick impact hit in your USP as well.
Good advice. Christy Baccato also has a question. She says, it's hard to do it all with a small team of one. It is so helpful to plan ahead. How do you manage it all in the moment, like when the live event is going on?
Well, again, that's a great question. And one thing I would say to that is the more you put into planning that event, the easier it is to manage on site at the event. So it's that tiniest little detail that I talked about there at the end. When you haven't pre-planned and taken that, done your due diligence ahead of time, that's when your day of event can seem extremely overwhelming, and a team of one can be hard. I've been a team of one, as you know, Christy, and I appreciate you. I've been a team of one many times in my career. Yeah, it's maddening. I'm not saying that it's not hard work. It is very, very hard work, but that is something you have to commit yourself to, right? So the further out you pre-plan, you think about all these little nuts and bolts, reach out to somebody who's done it before. If you're newer to this situation, you know, I'd say reach out to me, but reach out to somebody who you know has planned a ton of things. Because what happens is I end up going to this is where I said earlier, you don't start at the end. With an event, you start at the end. So there's a whole presentation that is about, you know, how to plan an event. You start planning an event at the end. You are standing at your event when you start planning it 2 years out, a year out, whatever. And you work your way backwards, because through that backwards process, you find all the pitfalls that are going to happen to you on your journey back forward. And then you start over and you start executing it. But your logistical planning starts from the end back, and then you start executing it from the beginning forward. So, I would say just a lot of the pre-planning, don't underestimate the smallest detail. And then, you know, surround yourself with good people and good advice, and think to yourself, is this something that I really should be doing? Do I have the resources, the energy, and am I prepared to do it? Or is it going to do more harm than good? And maybe I should not, maybe I should, you know, eat a smaller part of the elephant right now, as opposed to chewing off the entire, the entire ear.
Good advice. Okay, we have another question from Michelle. She asks, where do you find your images, videos, create yourself, use a vendor, etc.? When you ask for permission to use content, do you have a formal form?
We have an amazing platform. Again, we're a small destination marketing organization. We're a small DMO, but we invest annually in a platform called CrowdRiff. It's CROWDRIFF. And without that, it would be maddening. So for us, because we are 100% content driven, if you have not followed us on Facebook, Instagram, or, you know, been on our website, please do, because you'll appreciate, like, everything we do is content. So we almost have to have this. We are a very small team as well. And so CrowdRiff is a platform that we can go on and we can request images from people who have posted them on their social media. And at the time that they say, yes, you can use that on your stuff, it automatically documents that on the platform. We have all the permissions there. They live there forever. We're able to use those images and pieces in, you know, in any way that we want to, and already have that permission. Before we had that, yes, it was a spreadsheet and a picture folder. So if someone gave me permission, said, Brandy said, sure, you can use that picture for your marketing. And I said, great. So I would save the picture, I would name, you know, what the picture was of, and I would put, you know, credit Brandy Renfro, and or no credit needed, or whatever. And that was how we knew in that folder it was images that we could use. It's kind of dangerous. It's not really the best way to do it. I always, you know, joke that I don't want to go to Facebook jail. I can't imagine how horrible that place must be. But it's daunting if you don't have a platform. And again, I would recommend, if you can afford to do it that way. Otherwise, yes, you would have to come up with a spreadsheet and or some kind of a folder that you specifically name the photo with the credit right there. And then anytime you go to use that imagery, you know, oh, yep, that's who I need to credit for that. So, but we go through CrowdRiff a lot. We also do use a couple of local photographers, videographers. We might send them out on a special assignment to say, hey, we need pictures of this specific asset, you know, can you get those? And we would buy them. Or things like that, or like our destination video, we contract that out and stuff like that. But for our everyday use, or we do a lot of our own. I mean, I'm out. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you probably think all I do is eat and take pictures of flowers, but kind of true. But we like to go on our marketing research and development trips, and we go get our own pictures, and love that, because we're firsthand having those experiences, and we come back and post about them and talk about all the great things happening in Springfield.
Good information. Michelle also asked, you have a large audience. Do you change the focus at all when it comes to the more specific ones? Do you worry about permission from people in photos?
So typically speaking, if someone is in a public place, they're subject to having, you know, their photo taken. We are we err on the side of caution for everything. So if we're taking a photo, we'll try to get an angle where faces aren't in it. unless obviously we're asking for the user generated content for that purpose if we want people in them. So a lot of what we do is more just lifestyle photos, so we don't have to get permissions. As far as how we speak to that content, so we have a wide variety of audience. So, everything from people who want to, hear about architecture to history to Route 66 to family fun. So what we do is we try to we have a wide variety of posts that we put out. So we're constantly hitting those audiences. And then we, once a post starts performing well, we will do boosted advertising behind it. And then at that point, we're able to drill down through the ad center where we can say, we want this going to women only, 35 to 55. We want them living here. We want them interested in this. And we'll drill down those specifics on our ad. And then that way, that particular content will get pushed to the exact right person we want it to. But for us, it's very challenging. It's very fun. It's amazing. Because we never want for content, but at the same time, it is a challenge to be everything to everybody all the time. So we just push out tons of content, 3 or 4 posts a day, usually, at least 2 or 3. And it's a variety. And again, that comes back to the planning though. So we know, if we weren't planning that, it'd be like, oh, we posted about Lincoln 7 times in a row. That's not, we want to make sure that everybody's seeing, that's following us, is like, holy cow, there's always something cool and unusual going on there. Of course, our USP is the guy right back here, where he's at over here. He watches me all day. So we know that our unique selling proposition is Abraham Lincoln. That is just he's our purple cow. He always will be, but we continue to expand beyond that because we want our audience to be, as wide variety as what we have here in Springfield.
What about tags? How do you feel like tags help drive content to your posts?
Absolutely. So if you can tag anybody who you are partnering with, or for us, it's nonstop tags, because if we're talking about, if you happen to go on our site today and you see our post about Halloween week, it's, talking about the governor's mansion and Lincoln's home and all of these great places. So we're constantly tagging them, because as soon as we tag them, many of our partners are active like we are. And so then they're pushing it out on theirs. The more, obviously social media is all about getting people to push it forward for you. Our KPI that we look at most is shares. We want reactions, we want comments, but the shares is where you really can. We had a post a couple of weeks ago that ended up with like 800 and some shares. Were like through the roof, because that means 817 or whatever it was other accounts. Now everyone who's on those 817 accounts is seeing our information, right? We push it once and we want everyone else to carry it from there. So tagging people is a great way to do that. Also, if you can come up with a hashtag or 2 about your business and start getting those to build where they can get over 1,000, just keep building it with your post, have other people hashtag you. And then that kind of helps to build that algorithm for you as well.
Can I ask?
I would say too, video content is like crucial, but that's not even a discussion you can really get into on, on something like this. It's a whole video of its own, but video content is crucial, and don't be afraid to go take video, right? I'm not talking about going and getting the big, huge, movie camera. I mean, you'd go with your iPhone and you walk and take your video, and, people want to see video, whether it's professional or amateur. It will make a difference on your success with your social media for sure.
Can you tell us what your semi-viral post was about?
I wish I could remember. I want to say we've had a couple lately. One of them was about Sam at the Made Right sandwich shop, believe it or not. People love that, that nostalgia. Gosh, what was that one? This is how you move on too, though, right? You have this whole plan, and then once it's done, you're just like shot on. I want to say it was our post about, what was it? I want to say it was our post about Halloween, and people were, the Halloween parade, I think it was something crazy. And that's the other thing, never underestimate what people want to hear or see. There's things that we post, we're like, we'll just post this and see what it does, and it goes nuts. And then there's other things you post being like, this is gonna be like the best ever, and they're like, nobody even cares. So it's interesting to me. There is no, I wish I had all of the answers of what causes what. I get the algorithms, you know, you can study all of that, but I also have to say that it changes like every 5 minutes, what, you know, is best to do and not to do. So do it well, be consistent, be unique, and, you know, just have fun with it, but do it with a great intention.
Okay, so I think that is all the questions we have, Amy. I want to thank you so much for a wonderful program. I know I learned a lot, and I hope you all on the call did too. And thank you all who hopped on the program today. Don't forget to take our survey. Remember, you want to help us rename our organization so we can move forward as an independent new chapter, and then also sign up to join free from now until the end of the year. We would love to have you in our group. So thanks everybody for joining, and take care. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.